Hello and welcome. I am Exilite and this is my channel. Before we get started with today's story, if you would please like this video, I would appreciate that very much. If you would also subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And if you'd like to be notified of my content when it goes live, go ahead and click that bell and choose your option. Here we go. Neil Cabot was gifted a red 1968 Ford Mustang for his 18th birthday on January 2nd, 2017. It was in mint condition when his father had noticed it in a friend's garage. The friend said that it had been in an accident in 1972 and towed to his father's junkyard. His father kept it for himself when after a week no one had come to claim it. He had it repaired, and shortly after he had a stroke, and it hadn't really been driven much since then. Neil's father offered the guy a few $1,000s, had new tires put on, then had it washed and waxed, the inside detailed, and placed in his driveway on the morning of Neil's 18th birthday. On this night, Neil was driving it to his girlfriend Kylie's house because her parents were having a formal dinner party to celebrate her 18th birthday. As Neil had done every time he drove the car in the 2 weeks since he'd received it, he tried to find a channel on the radio, but only one song ever played, Burning Love by Elvis Presley. No matter what he did to the radio, it only played that song. Neil was looking down towards the knobs of the radio when he caught out of the corner of his eye a dog run out into the road, and when he swerved, he ran over a block of wood with a nail protruding from it, and then clunk, clunk, He stopped the car, looked at his watch. Damn it, he cursed under his breath and hit the steering wheel with his hand. I'm going to be late. Perfect. He reached for his cell to call Kylie when he noticed that he was stopped right in front of an old mechanic garage. The large white sliding door was open and the lights were on. An old crackling radio was playing Rock Around the Clock. He put the car in neutral and pushed it through the open door. On October 5th, 1972, Thomas Matthew Mavens was 18 years old in 3 days. He'd been given his dream car for his 18th birthday, and hoo boy, was she a thing of beauty. A lipstick red 1968 Chevy Camaro. His father had picked it out, and even had a message inscribed just inside the frame of the back driver's side passenger door. Today, Thomas was thinking about that message as he was driving down the dirt road. His radio was on, and the DJ just said, "And this is a sweet, sweet dedication from a lovely Miss Pepper to her one true love." That's what they all say. Am I right? To her one true love, Bobby Giancana. Treat her right, Bobby. This one's a keeper. Here's Burning Love by the one and only Elvis, baby. Thomas reached down to turn up the radio. He was a huge Elvis fan and loved this song. In the 2 seconds he had his eyes off the road, his car drifted to the right just enough so that when Thomas looked up, he didn't have time to correct his trajectory and smacked straight into a stop sign. He could hear the front right tire hiss from losing air. The board holding the sign had splintered, sending the wood piercing through the rubber. "Oh, damn," said Thomas, feeling his pride hurting more than his body was. There he sat, not knowing what to do. There weren't many houses for at least 3 miles. The Kents lived up the hill on the right, but that was a good 4 miles. He had to get to the recruiting office. He was scheduled to depart for Vietnam. He'd heard story about the boys who'd chicken out and didn't show up, and he didn't want to start off on that foot, getting sent to the roughest parts of the jungle to learn how to man up real fast, being dumped from a Huey over a rice paddy and forced to hike back to the base. No, he had to be on time. So he left the car with a note on the front seat with his dad's name, number, and address, grabbed his duffel, and took off walking. Within 15 minutes, a lovely couple stopped and asked if he needed a ride. He was grateful, and he took it. The piece of paper on the white leather seat was picked up by a gust of wind and carried off to God knows where. 3 weeks later, Dick and Edith Mavens got a knock on their door. Outside their window was parked a shiny black sedan with an American Eagle decal on the side of the door. The two men knocking were in uniform, one holding an envelope and the other a Bible. He was wearing his priest's collar under his uniform shirt. Edith was never the same after. She refused to display the flag, even the one she was handed by a young man, maybe 17 to 18 years old, at the funeral held for Thomas. "It ain't right," she'd say. "I'm proud as hell of my boy, but it just ain't right. These boys haven't even experienced life before theirs are taken away." She started attending protest rallies and sit-ins. She made a poster with the face of their boy on it. She said that these people should see the faces of these boys. Dick just let her be and kept doing what he knew how to do. Keep your head down and work. He couldn't afford to be angry. He had bills to pay and grief to stave off. But every weekend he'd drive around looking for his boy's car. He filed a police report, but nothing ever came of it. He did that for years. Finally figured that he was never going to see that car again. "Hey! Hey, mister!" yelled Neil over the music and the clanking of tools. Dick rolled out from under the car, slower than he used to. "Huh?" he yelled, cupping his right ear. "What?" "My car!" yelled Neil. "My tire blew." Dick stood up slowly, turned off the radio, and squinted out into the darkness to try and catch a glimpse of the car. "Your tire blew?" Dick repeated. "Yeah. You think you can help me? I'm on my way to my girlfriend's birthday party. It's a pretty big shindig." Dick could already see that. The kid was wearing a suit. "I'll pay you extra. I don't want to make a bad impression on her dad. You know?" Dick did know. He had felt that way once about Edith's father. "All right, well, you got a spare?" "Yes, sir." "All right, let's get you going." Neil pushed the car the rest of the way into the light. Dick nearly lost his balance when he saw her. He was completely silent for what felt like minutes, but had to have only been seconds. Just then, Gary came out of the office into the shop. Gary had been friends with Dick for decades, kept his finances now, just as a side job to bring in a little extra cash. He stood next to Dick, and the two of them looked like they were seeing a ghost. Dick slowly walked to the car and right past Neil, bumping his shoulder. Neil turned around to watch the old man. "Hey, you need anything to get that spare?" the kid asked. Dick opened the back passenger door. The car was still on, and coming from the speakers was Burning Love, as always. "Hey, while you're at it, this radio only plays one song. Like, ever." Dick was looking at the inside frame of the door. "Isn't that weird?" He could hear Neil still talking. "It only plays..." And Neil and Dick spoke at the exact same time, word for word, as if they'd been practicing for weeks. Elvis, Burning Love. Neil looked confused. He looked at Gary, but Gary was looking at Dick and the car. "Is it there?" asked Gary, taking out a handkerchief from his back pocket, sweat beads building up on his forehead even though a cool breeze was coming into the garage. He was patting his forehead, his hands a little shaky. He tried to control it so the kid didn't see it. "Yeah, right here." Neil began to walk towards the car. "What's where?" Dick stood up quickly. "Listen, how much for the car?" While he asked, he grabbed a lug wrench to get the flat tire off. Yeah, it was a gift. I can't sell it." Dick went about changing the tire, his heart beating out of his chest. 10,000, he said, without looking at Neil. Cash. Right now. No, replied Neil. My dad would kill me. Dick began to sweat. Gary went and stood by Neil, nudging him. Come on, kid. 20,000, said Dick, his voice beginning to shake. He was standing now, wiping his hands with an old handkerchief. How much do I owe you? Asked Neil, feeling nervous. He didn't know why. 25,000, but I'll have to get to the bank tomorrow, cash. Gary, being the accountant he was, handed Neil the bill, $20 for labor. Neil asked, do you take cards? How much will it take? Asked Dick, his voice trembling and anxious. Listen, mister, I gotta go. Neil was beginning to feel like he needed to get out as fast as possible. He didn't know what he saw in this man's eyes, but he didn't like it. Gary handed him his card back, and he pushed past Dick, closed the back door. He got into the car and began to back it out. Hey, thank you, he called out, waving. His headlights were still off as he backed out. Dick stood frozen for a moment, and then ran out to the road. Gary yelled after him, Dick, stop! Stop! Neil put the car into gear and proceeded forward, reaching down to turn on the headlights, which is when he saw Dick in the road. Neil swerved. His tire caught a large rock that caused him to lose control of the steering wheel. He hit a ditch and came out and hit a tree, head on. His neck snapped forward, hitting the white steering wheel, and he died instantly. Blood from his head was dripping down the white and onto the floorboard. Burning Love playing on the radio. 2 weeks later, the car was at an auction. Dick was there. He raised his hand at $500. As it needed some body work, they let it go. And inside the frame of the passenger side door was engraved, Dear son, keep your head down and come back to me.